Hello everyone. Welcome to another Java and Journeys with Jillian. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. If you're new to this channel, hello, what's up? My name is Jillian and I am excited to have you here on this journey. Today we are at Busch Gardens, which is located in Tampa, Florida. Fun fact, as many times as I've been to Disney, as many times as I've been to Universal, I have never been to Busch Gardens. So I'm super excited to be here. We are going to be going to the Howl-O-Scream event. So we're going to check out some of the Halloween madness that's going on here at Busch Gardens. So join me today on this journey. For those of you who may be wondering, there are 5 haunted mazes here at Busch Gardens this year for Howl-O-Scream. I am really particularly excited for one of them, which is supposed to be like a twisted Alice in Wonderland vibe. There's also another one that's themed to a circus, another one that's themed to a witch coven, and a couple of others. So I'm super interested to peep out what those have to offer. There's also a couple of spooky shows that are going on. I'll definitely let you know my thoughts on those. And then, of course, there is food. Now, my husband did tell me before, and granted, he has not been to the Howl-O-Scream event here in Busch Gardens, but he has said that the food tends to not be very good at Busch Gardens in general. So I don't know what to expect. I'm keeping my expectations very, very, very low in terms of the Halloween eats and treats that they have. So if I see something interesting, I'll show it to you. I'll let you know my honest opinion and feedback. And as well as when we wrap up the evening, I will let you all know what my thoughts are. Do I think Howloscream is worth it? Should that be a flagship Halloween activity event that you add to your calendar, your laundry list of things to do for Halloween? I will be real with you. I will let you know what I think. I have in the past been to the SeaWorld Howl-O-Scream event, but this is when we were in Southern California, and that was fun. It was very cute. It was a vibe. It's nothing like Universal. It's nothing like Disney, but I was super, super impressed at that time. This was about, I want to say, a year or two ago. I was super impressed with what SeaWorld was able to accomplish. So I do think that this will be a fun event. And I understand that all these theme parks are different. All of them are going to have their different approaches for how they celebrate different occasions. So I'm not going to go into something comparing it instantly to Disney or to Universal. Busch Gardens is its own thing. SeaWorld is its own thing. And I'm mentioning both of them because they're owned by the same company. So Howl-O-Scream, you may have also heard of the same event for SeaWorld. So I am going into this with a very open mind, very open perspective, and I am looking forward to seeing what Busch Gardens has to offer when it comes to their Halloween event, Howl-O-Scream event. Y'all, do you see how ridiculous this is? So shortly after I filmed my intro for the video, it started pouring rain. Welcome to life in Florida. But hopefully this will clear up here in the next 10 minutes and we can get to some of the haunted mazes without being sopping wet. Okay, everyone, so it looks as if my volume was muted when I recorded this part. So it rained for like a good 30-45 minutes. We were all thinking, according to the forecast, it would just be a quick thunderstorm, over and done. Unfortunately, that was not the case. It literally poured like this, like I said, for quite some time in the beginning. Not a great way to start out the event. It really set the tone, unfortunately, for the rest of the evening. Hey everyone, so we just finished the circus themed maze. It was good. I have to be honest with you all because I'm never going to fake something for the sense of views or likes or anything like that. I am so irritated right now and I'm trying to be in a positive headspace so that way we can continue to record content. But the wait for the circus appear took an awfully long time. So as I showed you all, it was pouring rain. It was probably pouring rain for about 30 minutes or so, so a lot longer than I think a lot of us anticipated, which of course caused a delay. for all openings in the mazes. I totally get that. There's nothing you can do. No one can do anything about the weather. Once everything started letting up, we got in line for the maze. And I think we were probably waiting in line for maybe like 10, 15 minutes for them to reopen back up. They opened back up, all good. And then we proceeded to walk through and just wait and wait and wait and wait. And so I don't know. I I am just a little over it right now because the event is only until midnight and I think we may be able to get a couple more houses in, but it's just not been as great of an experience so far that I've hoped. And some of it is not, obviously no one can do anything about the weather, but I also am just like, why are the houses not open? Like once the gates open, after the rain has calmed down, like what's going on? It just seemed like a lot of resetting had to happen, and that's just caused a lot of delays. I also have some other thoughts to share, but we're going to head on to the next house, and I am going to show you all what the ambiance looks like as we're walking. And I will also communicate about some of the other things that have, the things that I feel like have impacted a little bit of my experience here so far. But we're going to pick back up. We're going to head over to the next house. So, as I had mentioned, there are 5 houses and 2 shows. I don't know that we're actually going to catch any of the shows. And we're actually walking into one of the scare zones right now. So we have Sawgrass Slaughter. Should be interesting. I do like the theming. And I will say the circus one was very well done. And you are allowed to film. I started filming part of it, but it was just so dark and I didn't have my gimbal out because I wasn't sure if we could film and I didn't want to hold up the line if they said no. So I just put it away immediately just in case I didn't want to hold up the line. But you can film here, which is pretty awesome. So I appreciate Busch Gardens for allowing folks to do that. And I do love everything's like green and blue. Pretty cool scare zone. Oh, those characters. Ooh, a lot of paws. Well, we haven't run into any scare actors just yet. So I'm not sure what's going on. And again, I don't know if it's because the rain was just so severe that, you know, it's just causing or had caused a lot of delays. And so people are just starting very late. But this is what I mean. Like, we probably just picked the wrong time. Maybe any other night, this would be a lot more of a pleasant experience. But so far, I I do like some of the theming. I thought the circus, like I said, was really cool. And I had a lot of moments where I was screaming. So they got me good at several points. So I'm not going to be overly critical. All right, and now we have Beyond the Veil. So we're going to walk into this space. And this is another scare zone, right? So another scare zone. And I think there normally would be an actor here. There's not one. Yeah, I see places like here where there should be an actor, and there's not one. So we're walking through scare zones that don't have any actors at the moment. Lovely. Y'all, I have to be honest, like, again, I'm kind of confused. Like, it's Tampa, Florida. I would expect for them to be more prepared for the rain than what's happening right now. Because again, it poured, but this was like right at the top of the event. So we got here before 6 o'clock, and we've just been doing a lot of waiting. And of course, when the rain happened, shortly after I filmed my intro, we were just waiting it out, and it's all good. We get it. But I have to say, I'm just disappointed that there's just what seems like a lack of preparation in case of inclement weather. This is Tampa, Florida. The torrential downpours, this is just a part of living in Florida, period. And given some of the delays, and even just there are certain areas of the park that especially had a lot of flooding, a lot of big, massive puddles. And I was just like, do they not have good drainage like in these areas that have that are getting a lot of rain build up, a lot of puddles? Okay, all right. This scare zone may have actors. I do see some zombies, so let's go to this one. This is promising. Sin City Zombies. Let's check it out. That was great. That was great. I need more of that in the other scare zones. It appears that there are some clowns that are out.
little pumpkin. What a pleasure to see you here. Welcome, welcome. Deadlies! Show some hospitality on timer.
So after leaving the maze, I decided to try the pizza pretzel.
All right, everyone, we are going to wrap up our time here at Busch Gardens with a fun figurine. They have these throughout the Howl-O-Scream event, and I am getting a witch figurine. And it's so cool that it just has the mold and will make it for you. Well, it was fast. Oh, okay. I will show you all what she looks like when we're in better lighting. But there she is. Hello, friends. So this is the following day from our adventure at Busch Gardens. I wanted to record the closing for you all while I was there yesterday, but to be honest with you, I was very exhausted by the end of the evening, and also the lighting wasn't the greatest. Super dark. I couldn't really figure out the best place to film a closing chat with you all, so why not do it in the comfort of my home? I will tell you, after sleeping on it, Busch Gardens, the whole experience overall was okay. I went back and forth initially of would I say yes, I recommended, would I say no? And I think it just depends. I'm going to talk with you all a little bit about the highs and the lows, the pros and the cons of the Howl-O-Scream event. And again, I have been to Howl-O-Scream before, but it was at SeaWorld, and more specifically the SeaWorld located in San Diego, California, which was a fun event. I will say, in comparing the two, I definitely think the Howl-O-Scream event at Busch Gardens is better in terms of the quality of the mazes. I think the experience on the whole is better than SeaWorld in San Diego. I can't speak on SeaWorld in Orlando, but also, to be fair, Busch Gardens has been running this event longer than the SeaWorld in San Diego, to my belief. I think here are the things that, let's start with the cons, because I always like ending on a positive note. There are some things that were unsettling. Obviously, there's nothing anyone can do about the weather. The weather's the weather. It started pouring rain at the beginning of the event, which caused a lot of delays. I get it. Here's what surprised me. So with Tampa being where it's located, southern Florida, south of Orlando, I would just expect for them to be able to understand how to proactively deal with the weather. There were huge puddles everywhere. And when I say puddles, I'm talking about big puddles that I saw a lot of people walking through. And some people are living their best life and they're playing in the puddles and all that. I have to be honest with you all, I was a little bit put off, and I'm talking about grown people. I'm not talking about little kids. I'm talking about grown people just walking through the puddles and kicking it, and even some people that were taking off their shoes and walking straight through the puddles. I don't want to say a major germaphobe. It's nothing to the extent of like Monk, right? For those of you all that are familiar with the show Monk, which is about this detective who is a huge germaphobe. I'm not to that extent. I'm not like constantly and feverishly sanitizing everything that's around me in my environment, but I am very much aware of how my cleanliness and my sanitation, the impact that makes on myself and others around me. And I'm also aware of how other people are in terms of when you're sneezing, when you're coughing, when you're walking around barefoot in a public place. Like I notice these things, right? I notice when people get up from a table, and let's just say if I'm coming right behind them, whether that's at a Disney theme park or not, if the table hasn't been cleaned, I typically sometimes have wipes to just like clean something up. To the extent that I can control my space and the cleanliness of my space, I'm going to try. But I just kept thinking the whole time I saw people walking in and out of these puddles barefoot, like, I don't know, in my head I was just like, oh my gosh, do you want to get a staph infection? Like, this is really gross that there's dirt, there's all sorts of stuff right in this water, and you're just like playing in it or you're walking in and out of it. And this was throughout the park. There were these massive puddles. Now, eventually as the night went on, they were able to drain those puddles, but I was just shocked that it was left like that for actually quite a while, and that there wasn't an immediate drainage system so that way you don't have these massive puddles everywhere. And obviously, I mean, when it comes to, let's just say, God forbid, but if someone were to get sick, or let's just say if they had a cut on their foot and they're walking around playing in this water or whatever, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a legal mind. I don't want to even be dramatic to the extent of like, could Busch Gardens get in any sort of trouble or face any sort of liability? Probably not. I don't know. That's not really what this is about. It's just more so just like as an individual person, keeping yourself clean, and also the park being cognizant to make sure that people are staying clean, safe, and healthy to the extent of their ability. So that was one thing that just bothered me a little bit, is that we were constantly having to walk around these massive puddles of water throughout the park, and it took them a while to be able to drain those puddles properly. That was one thing that was irritating. Also, because of the delays, there was just a lack of operations and attention to communicating how long it would take to get the mazes up and running, how long it would take to get the scare zones up and running, because we all get it. We've all been there, especially when you live in Florida. Mind you, it will be my first year living in Florida going into October. So being here, I get, especially during hurricane season, which technically is from like the 1st of June all the way through the end of November. Rain is inevitable, especially during hurricane season. We have these downpours, these torrential downpours on a near daily basis. And I would expect, especially for Tampa, where hurricanes are a lot more prominent. I live in a suburb of Orlando. So even if there was a significant hurricane, typically we're not as impacted because we're in Central Florida versus if you're in a city like Tampa that's closer to the ocean, of course. And I would just expect for them to be able to have a means of communicating, hey, due to this downpour, due to this weather, this maze is going to take another 30 minutes, an hour, whatever may have you, in order to get up and running. What ended up happening with the first maze, we went to the Circus of Fear to start off. We were just waiting. I think we initially waited for like 10, 15 minutes. That wasn't the problem. They opened up the main gate to the maze. But as we were all walking in, we just sort of got to a standstill, and we were just all trying to figure out what was going on, because some of the rides started being tested and getting up and running, and we're all kind of like, okay, so why are we still standing here? To the point that even the express line was starting to get backed up as well. So it was just weird. I don't understand why they couldn't just communicate. And even when we looked on the app to get an understanding of what the times are across all the mazes, this is another con. There are no wait times. Wait times for the rides, yes, but not wait times for the mazes, which was also something else that was extremely frustrating. I don't understand. I'm like, Busch Gardens, get your stuff together. You should be able to post wait times for your mazes, wait times that are fairly accurate, right? There were no wait times posted. So initially, had, let's just say, the rain not happened, our strategy going into this was to make the most of our time. Maybe let's start all the way in the back, because people tend to gravitate toward the first mazes that they see. So instead of starting at the mazes that are toward the front of the park, we're going to make our way back and then work our way up. That makes all the sense in the world, right? We kind of threw that out the window and just got in the line with the Circus of Fear, which is toward the front. So one of the first mazes. In hindsight, my husband and I were talking about this. My husband's name is JD. JD and I were chatting, and we were like, you know what? We probably should have just went ahead, stuck with the plan, not deviated from that, and went straight to the back of the park and worked our way up. But it didn't even really matter, because even toward the end of the evening, we left. The event ended at midnight. We left around 11, I think. It still was showing a wait time of about 45 minutes now. Whether that's accurate or not, TBD, not really sure. But when we were there, I felt like the wait was so unnecessary. I think we waited in line for almost close to an hour in total just to get to that maze. And that set the tone, right? Unfortunately. And here's something else, and this goes back to the improvement of operations. I, of course, want to be mindful and respectful of the fact if I can film in a space. So JD was asking a couple of the staff, like, hey, is it okay that we film? Is that fine? One person said he thinks so, wasn't sure. We could ask someone else. The second person told us no. We asked another person, and they were like, I think so, maybe. It took us about 4 people before we could get the okay. they were totally open to us filming, and that is actually a pro, which I'll get to in a moment. But it took us 4 people just to get understanding if we could film or not. I will say, to one of the employees, to his credit, he didn't know. And so instead of saying, well, maybe not sure, he was just like, listen, I don't know. There's someone else at the top of the line that you can ask. And I think, just as a point of life, because sometimes I have to check myself on this, it's okay to not know. It's okay to say, hey, I'm not the best person to tell you the response to that. Sorry, that light flickering. There is a massive thunderstorm going on outside right now. Yeah, I live in the state of Florida. This is just what we have to deal with here. But it was, if you don't know something, it is always best principle to just say, I don't know, but let me find out. And I at least appreciate to the one employee that was not making up something, not making assumptions, but it took us 4 people. And that's typically something that I think should be common enough. I'm not the first person, nor am I the only person to have a phone out to film things. That's something that they should know the answer to. So that was also very off-putting. And of course, this sets the tone for the night, right? Because this was at the start of the event. By the time we got through the Circus of Fear, my sister, Whitney, was pretty much over it. I don't think she was that impressed with that particular maze. So a combination of the wait time between waiting out the storm, between waiting to get to the maze, going through the maze, not really being that impressed by it, not feeling like it was worth an hour. I think, like, admittedly, that set a little bit of the tone for the evening. I think after that first maze, there was a part of me that almost wanted to chalk it up and go home and just try again later, right? But in talking with my husband, he was like, so my sister and my husband have passes, so they were able to go to the event for free. And also, just to let you all know, the weekend that we went, this past weekend, which is the second weekend in September, pass holders got a chance to go for free. That's the only time. So as pass holders, of course, we wanted to take advantage of that. My husband had to pay for my ticket. And so I was like, hey, so how much was my ticket? And he was like, your ticket was like around $80. So after he told me that, I, took a couple of breaths, and I was thinking about this, and I'm like, okay, listen, $80 is a lot of money. That's nothing to scoff at. Try to make the most out of this time. Give it a chance. Like, don't completely shut down just because your night is starting off a little bit of rocky start. So I just tried to clear my head and move forward. I have a list here, so I'm going to make sure I stick with my cons before I move on to the pros. Also, I think another con was, as we were moving through, our first couple of scare zones had no actors. You all saw this in the footage, and it reminded me, for those of you all that are fans of Real Housewives of Atlanta, and if you're an OG fan, you remember Dwight, who was good friends with Phaedra and also eventually made friends with some of the other housewives, had like an on again, off again, good, like, frenemy relationship with Nene Leakes. But it reminded me of this comment that Dwight made about Sheree Whitfield, She by Sheree fashion line in the very first fashion show that she tried to launch. And he was like, what a shame, a fashion show with no fashions, how dreadful. It was kind of that moment for me where I'm like, what is a scare zone? It's like, we're going through this scare zone and there are no scare actors. What a shame. Like, what is a scare zone with no scare actors? That is the whole point. If you do not have actors at the scare zones, it's not going to work. Now, had this been, we went through the scare zone right after the rain, I would have completely understood that judgment-free zone. But this was after we were done with the Circus of Fear. So at this point, this was like an hour or so after the rain had stopped, when the park is up and running, the rides are going, all the mazes are open. Like, there were no actors where they should have been. Now, I did not go back through those 2 mazes toward the end of the night, so maybe they were after a while able to get scare actors there. I don't know, but there were none there. So again, it was this like layer upon layer upon layer coloring the experience. So to that, I just say, in general, operations like Busch Gardens, please improve your operations. Please work on posting wait times for your scare zones in your app. and make sure they are accurate. That brings me to my next con. There was a lack of accuracy of the wait time. So throughout the evening, we're trying to determine, do we want to wait in line? Is it worth it? Fortunately, we were able to get through almost all of the scare mazes. The only one we weren't able to do was the vampire theme one because it had posted a 60-minute wait. And I just wasn't, this was toward the end of the evening. I didn't want to wait another 60 minutes, but we were able to go through the others. And the others beyond the Circus of Fear, we did not wait longer than 30 minutes. The Shadows of Wonderland, which of course was like the twisted Alice in Wonderland theme, that one probably for us had the second longest wait time, which was about 30 minutes. Everything else was 20 minutes or less. The other two mazes we went in, as a matter of fact, the last one we went to at the end of the night, which was the estate themed one, like the haunted estate, which reminded me a little bit of like an adult version of the Haunted Mansion. That one was literally a walk on. But when we asked, like, hey, what's the wait time? Because that's another thing. There were some wait times that weren't visible through some of the mazes. That person told us, oh, it's going to be like 15, 20 minutes. It was literally a walk on, guys. Like, literally just walk on. That is, like, so different. If he would have said, oh, it's only going to be like 5-10 minutes and it'll be a walk on, okay, whatever. That's pretty sure. But, like, to say 15, 20, but it's clearly a walk on was weird. So the wild times were all over the place, which made us think, well, could we have done the vampire theme one? Because that one actually had the wait time posted at 60 minutes. Was it actually 60 minutes? Don't know. Maybe not. So we probably could have ended up doing that one, but JD and I did not have the appetite to wait in line. My sister had already left. She was pretty much over it after the Shadows of Wonderland. She was just ready to go. She was pretty tired too. So we could have maybe tried the vampire theme one, but we didn't. So I think overall it's just get your operations together, like step it up. This is not your first time doing this event, Busch Gardens. You can do so much better than this. But let's go ahead and transition over to the pros. What were the things that were great about Howloscream? There were certainly, I think, even within the low points, a lot of high points that I actually was blown away by. The quality of the mazes were so good. Now, I am not going to Busch Gardens expecting high production value comparable to what you would see at Universal. I mentioned this at the start of the night and I meant it. I was not looking at this as like a direct comparison because you can't compare the two. We're talking about two entirely separate theme parks, two entirely separate budgets, two entirely separate like focuses in terms of what these theme parks offer, right? So I'm not going to do that. I was trying to stay very level-headed and open. Busch Gardens, to me, did a great job. The haunted mazes, I keep wanting to even say haunted houses, but they all were on theme. What the theme were was exactly what I got, and it's all in the details. And I actually overheard someone talk about this while I was waiting in line, and they were talking about how much they enjoyed some of the mazes themselves, and I absolutely agreed. It's all in the detail. Shadows of Wonderland, for example, you go in, you felt like it was this twisted version of Alice in Wonderland. It was very impressive. All the theming that they did, it was chef's kiss. It was really good. We went to like a coven witch theme maze. That was great too. It felt very much like you're walking into a dangerous coven's living place somewhere out in the woods. It was very well done. The Circus of Fear, I thought was good. I didn't feel as blown away by that one, but I still thought it was well done. I will say the estate, we definitely closed our night on, to me, what I would view as the best maze. I think between the two, the Shadows of Wonderland and the Haunted Estate, that one was awesome. It gave me Haunted Mansion vibes, but an adult Haunted Mansion. It was great. Like walking through it, all of the actors did a good job. I will say each and every haunted maze we walked through, I was jump scared multiple times. It was so good. I was so impressed by the quality. So like clap, like great job, Busch Gardens. It wasn't anything hokey. It wasn't campy. It wasn't something where I had to question, like, am I really getting my money's worth? I wasn't sure after leaving the Circus of Fear, but I think again, I had to get my brain out of that cloud of the rough start of the evening and kind of wipe that out. To be very fair to them, I thought that they really did a good job with detailing. They really did a good job of focusing on the scare value, right? And creating a theme and making you feel like you're in an entirely different place. I cannot stand being at any haunted event and I walk in and I don't feel like I'm transported somewhere else. I've had one terrible experience. The worst haunted themed event I've ever gone to was actually in LA, and we did the haunted hayride. Oh my gosh, it was awful. It was so bad that you just had to start laughing. That's how terrible that was. It was very campy, but not even like intentional camp to be entertaining. It was just bad. You could tell that I think that the haunted hayride in LA specifically switched ownership, and whoever the new owners were, it kind of felt like just a quick money grab. Like they charged all, a lot of money just to go in. The hayride was an absolute joke. The mazes were an absolute joke. It was not atmospheric. It was not immersive. I felt so bad. One of my good friends was visiting me in LA at that time, and I had so much regret that that is the thing that we took him to, thinking that it was going to be really good. When the whole time we were like, shoot, we should have just taken our money and gone to Knott's Berry Farm, aka Not Scary Farm. I had so much regret because that was one of his first time. I think the first time he was in LA, especially for Halloween. And anytime my friends are visiting me from out of town, I want to treat them to a good time. I want us to, especially if we're doing something new and something that's not cheap. I felt, and though I'm not the person in charge of the event, I felt guilty, right? Like I convinced my friend to spend money on this thing, and it was a horrible, horrible, horrible event. Busch Gardens is nowhere near that. I would not call it horrible. I wouldn't call it bad. I thought it was good. I just think that they need to get their operations together. They can improve that and improve their drainage system when it comes to these torrential downpours. Then it was really good, and I'm willing to give them a shot. I also want to make sure I'm covering my other pros. I also want to talk about that they had something unique. So throughout the park, you could see here, and I tried to show this on the camera, but it was just so dark again. But they have like these places where you could make these wax figurines, and I decided on this green witch. But that was really cute and fun. And they had like another one that had a skull. I think they had another one that had like a ghost, or just like different haunted figures. And I wish that I had, if I were to go back and do this again, I would definitely get more of the figurines and just use them to maybe put on my tea tray when I decorate that up for Halloween/fall. That I just think that it's nice to have little unique touches. I think Universal may also have something like that, but I think it's just one machine. I could be wrong, but I feel like they have something like that as well. But this was like throughout the park. They have these machines that will make these wax figurines for you in honor of Howloscream. I thought that was cute. I thought that was unique. Unfortunately, I did not purchase any other merch for the event. I do have a Howloscream shirt, but that was from my Howloscream visit in SeaWorld San Diego. I didn't really purchase anything else. Again, I was really exhausted by the end of the night. And I'm trying to think. I think we covered actually all the pros. I think the last one I want to end on are the scare zones. So I talked about how a couple of the scare zones lacked actors, but the theme of the scare zones were super unique, super interesting. Like they had this one where it was like tree cutting, but it was also like themed to like holidays, and it had like the spooky holiday music. That was really good. They had one that was like little monsters, where it's like quote unquote little kids dressed in these masks, trying to like get you. And that was really good. Like when the scare zones were actually up and running like they should be, they were really good, very creative. I really like the vibe. And also, I love the fact that throughout the park, I mean, you could see that they were really using those fog machines really well. You really just felt like you were at a spooky, haunted event. So, overall, the question is, do I think Howl-O-Scream at Busch Gardens, Orlando, do I think it's worth, excuse me, Orlando, Tampa, not Orlando, do I think that it's worth it? The answer is it depends. I definitely would try it again. I would give it another shot next year. I live about an hour north of Tampa, so it's a little bit of a drive for me. And with traffic, it could take an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours. It took us over an hour to get to Tampa. But I definitely think it depends. I think that if you were able to do the mazes, again, I have really bad motion sickness, so I can't get on the coasters. And the coasters, y'all, look so awesome. And for those of you all who have been to Busch Gardens any time of the year, drop down, talk about what are some of your favorite rides. Some of those coasters look amazing, but I just did not have the heart to try to get on any of them because these aren't like Disney coasters, right? These aren't family coasters. These are intense adult coasters. And I was just like, nope, not today. I'm not trying to get sick. I'm already having like a so-so time. I don't want to get sick. So I think if you're able to do the mazes, I think if you're able to do the scare zones and you're able to get in like a couple of coaster rides, 100%, it is totally worth it. Even if you're not interested in the rides, I do think the mazes were good quality. My sister wasn't that impressed, but I also think she was just irritated and over it at the end of the night. But I do think taking even the coasters out off the table, it's not, I know it feels like I'm waffling. It's not bad. I do think, again, I am looking forward to doing this again next year. Hopefully our day does not start with delays due to a torrential downpour. But even then, I am going to prepare for that next year just in case, because again, you never know. Sometimes the weather report here in Florida will be like, no rain or 20%. And then all of a sudden it'll start pouring rain. You're like, what the heck? But yeah, I think it was a good event. I think it could be worth it depending on what you want to get out of the event. But even if you just want to do the mazes, I would give it a shot. The reason why I can't just be like, oh yeah, y'all just, do it. It's fantastic. I can't be fake and phony with you all. The fact that they could not get their operations together and they have been doing this event for 20 years was really irritating to me. $80 is a lot. We've talked about this before. I've said this, that no corporation, no big corporate entity is absolved from my judgment. If it is a small mom and pop, I will not be honest, but I will carefully word what I have to say, because my goal in any of this is showing you all my kind of day-to-day weekly experiences, highlights of my week experiences that I'm having. My goal is not to destroy anybody's business or what they're doing. That's not good for anyone when a business shuts down. But I am going to give criticism where it's due, and how I word that criticism will depend on the type of business it is, because a corporation like Disney, a corporation like Universal, Busch Gardens, these places are not going to just fold because of what I have to say. And again, I'm not even discouraging you and telling you not to do it. I am looking forward to going back and trying Howloscream again and giving Busch Gardens the benefit of the doubt that they can level up their operations. Listen, Busch Gardens, if you want someone to be honest, you want to put me on your media pass next year, if you happen to catch this video, I'm your girl. I will gladly go back and try you all again, but you need to get your operations together. I would expect better from a business that has been doing this for 20 years. If you're expecting people to pay $50 to $80 plus to come to your event, you need to have your stuff together. That is not cheap, especially in today's economy. With inflation, everything is expensive, everything costs a lot. I expect when I am going to a place like this for everything to be operating as near smoothly as possible, barring, I know sometimes mistakes are going to happen, things happen. I'm a very patient person. It's all good. But I just don't like when it seems like some things that feel common sense that you should have together, you just simply don't. Now, with that being said, I am totally grateful for the mazes, for the time the staff put in to scaring the heck out of me and others and creating this immersive experience, because that does take a lot of work. And I think the work that went into those mazes, it's very evident, extremely evident, because again, you created an immersive experience that I would gladly do again, and I'm looking forward to trying that again. I again, I'm not discouraging anyone from trying, like, go to Howloscream, right? But just go into that experience knowing that the operations may not be up to par, and that wait times may be inaccurate, and that if you ask a question about something that, to me, staff should be able to answer, that you may end up getting multiple different answers for something. Be prepared for the fact that if it's pouring rain, that you need to make sure you have shoes that can hold up in the rain, that you have an extra pair of socks if you're wearing tennis shoes that are not exactly waterproof. Just make sure to be prepared for these things, right? Mentally going into it. I wish I could comment on the food. I did not even get a chance. And that's, I think, something else where I wish they had like unique Halloween treats throughout the event. It seemed like most of it was more concentrated over by Iron Gwazi, which is toward the front of the park. So by the time we made this massive loop around, at that point, I had already tried the pizza pretzel, which is not unique to the event, but it was good. The pizza pretzel was good. I liked it. It tasted fresh. It didn't taste stale. It was cooked all the way. It was very delicious. The pizza dipping sauce was delicious, but this is not something that's unique to the event. I really wanted to try. They had like some macaroni and cheese rolls. They had like these crispy chicken wings, and of course they had like creepier names to them. But I was looking forward to trying these things, but I didn't realize this was all at the front. So by the time we made our way around, it was at the end of the night. I had already had the pizza pretzel, so I wasn't about to continue to stuff my face. I'm not doing that. This is not some type of food channel where you're seeing me eat large quantities of food. That's not happening. I'm not doing it. I'm already a big girl. I'm not trying to make myself even bigger to entertain people by eating vast quantities of food. You're not going to find that here. I will try unique treats. I will tell you what I think of these treats. I will try all different types of food, but I'm not here to like gouge my face on big quantities of food at once for anyone's entertainment value. It's just not me. This is not that channel. But with that being said, like, I am looking forward to trying Busch Gardens again in the future. I am hopeful that maybe they can turn it around. Who knows? And maybe it was just an off night, right? Maybe someone else would say, Jillian, what are you smoking? It's not like that. And I'm willing to, stand corrected, try again, and see what it's like the next year. But with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for, as well, putting up with I'm trying to do as best as I can with the quality. I do have an older Google Pixel, so I'm looking forward to upgrading my phone this year around the holiday season. Hopefully upgrading to something that is better in low light areas. That's really where it can get frustrating because everything looks very grainy, very dark. So apologies for that. So thank you for sticking it out. Like I said before, Java and Journeys with Jillian. If you haven't already liked, what are you waiting for? If you haven't subscribed, come on now. Hit that subscribe button. Drop down in the comments. If you've been to Busch Gardens, would you recommend Howl-O-Scream for those of you all that have been to the event? What did you like about it? What did you not like about it? Until then, I'll catch you on the next journey. Have a good one.